We have Simon Quinn over at CertiPro Solutions. He's the sales manager. Nick Young, also from CertiPro. He's product manager. They're going to be talking about the Magento E-Link with Sage 100. We have Kristen Baumgartner, software specialist over at Scanco. Matt St. John at StarShip, sales executive, and Patty Benitez over at American Payment Solutions, vice president of channel. And just a little bit about CertiPro Solutions. You can count on CertiPro for helping you with your entire Sage 100 system. They also have developers on staff and software programmers that have developed the Magento E-Link for Sage 100 for years now. They've been assisting Sage 100 clients with linking the Magento ecommerce store front with Sage 100. And they have many certified developers, consultants. They're based out of Los Angeles. We have Scanco with us. They are a leader in WMS applications for Sage 100 since 1989. They have thousands of distribution and manufacturing companies using their wireless devices, their WMS application out in the warehouse on iOS, Android, and Windows devices, so they can be remote and free to do their jobs out in the warehouse and the manufacturing job floor in real time, interacting with Sage 100. We also have V Technologies with us. They have 17 plus years of experience with the full spectrum of Sage products, Sage 100, 300, 500, and X3. They also have very strong relationships with providers like Scanco, where they've built integrations with Scanco and Sage 100 to automatically select the best carrier to ship the shipments based on all the rules of the shipment. And Matt's going to talk a little bit more about that. And Patty's going to be talking about how to get the best credit card processing rate in Sage 100 using all the data about the customer to work with the credit card processing companies to get you the best credit card processing rate through level 3 credit card processing. And just a little bit about the workflow. We're going to talk about how an order comes in through Magento, and Simon and Nick are going to talk about how all that information on the Magento web store goes into Sage 100, and that order gets taken in, and then Scanco will pick up the details for picking and packing, and they also can do manufacturing as well. So we'll touch a little bit on that, but we're going to mostly talk about the picking and packing functionality. And then StarShip will pick up all the details of that order, the dimensional weight, the location of the customer, and pick the best carrier based on all the rules, the best cost, and the time that it needs to be delivered, and all those details, and rate shop for the best carrier. And then American Payment Solutions will get you the lowest credit card processing rate using all the data in the Sage 100 system to work with the credit card companies through level 3 credit card processing. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on over to Simon, who's going to start it off with the Magento e-commerce link. Thank you, Simon.
Great. Thanks so much, Adrienne. Hi, everybody. I am Simon Quinn from CertiPro Solutions. Also with me, I have Nick Young, our E-Link product manager. And together, we're going to talk about and demo CertiPro's E-Link software. So I'm going to provide an overview, and then Nick will get into the fun stuff, which will be a live demo of how E-Link actually syncs. And as you will see, the functionality of E-Link is basically to connect with Sage 100 and allow your company to create an online business portal or B2B or B2C website for your customers using Magento. Often successful online businesses, whether you're selling B2C directly to consumers or B2B directly to businesses or distributors, or both, are going to reach a point where they're spending more time and money managing data in both their web portal and in Sage 100. So managing production information, prices, stock levels, customer information, and web orders across 2 platforms can be problematic. It increases the risk of errors and omissions in both systems, and more importantly, affects your profit margins. On the other hand, integration does pay for itself. The return on investment is realized over time. But with a Magento e-commerce platform integrated with Sage 100 using CertiPro's E-Link software, key information is going to be synchronized between both systems. This reduces the time spent managing dual entry. It maximizes profits and, more importantly, improves customer satisfaction. So CertiPro has created a product called eLink, and it's a syncing technology that is a powerful tool which synchronizes data both ways. Your Sage 100 product and customer information can now be updated to your business portal or web store 24/7. Online orders can now be created in Sage 100 and are ready to be processed within minutes. And this is all completed without manually running batch jobs or any other procedures. It's automatic. So with our eLink software, the data securely flows between Sage 100 and the web store using an encrypted connection, making your company's backend completely anonymous and secure, all while being PCI compliant. Having an online store or business portal means that you're open for business all the time, and CertiPro's eLink software makes that approachable and affordable for your business to have an online presence. Let's take a quick step back. What is Magento and why Magento? So Magento is an e-commerce platform, and the world's biggest brands love Magento for its flexibility because today's consumers and businesses and their buying patterns are changing by the minute. Only Magento, which is also open source and scalable, can help you adapt and grow. With a global ecosystem of over 150,000 developers and a Sage business partner like CertiPro, using Magento can boost your online sales while maximizing gross margins. Magento businesses sell more at a lower total cost of operation. Also, the Magento marketplace is the world's largest and most versatile, offering customized and tested extensions. So Magento powers more merchants on the internet than any other platform, which is why CertiPro is also a Magento technology partner. How does eLink work? eLink is actually two parts. One is an API that runs on top of the Sage server that allows us to talk to Sage using the Sage business objects. So with eLink, if you create an order, it will actually create the order as if you're tabbing through all the fields in Sage. It's not just putting data in a database. If you have any business logic built into Sage, we will be following all of the same business logic with the eLink API. It also loads all of the customer defaults. Basically, it's going to populate all the fields that you expect to be populated. I'm now going to hand this over to Nick Young, our eLink product manager, who will perform a live demo of how our eLink software syncs data to Sage 100 from Magento by performing a few transactions. Nick, over to you.
Thank you, Simon, and thank you everybody who's joined us. I'm going to show you a little bit of what Simon talked about. I'll show you our eLink product. Here we have our Unero store. All we've done is we've taken a stock install of Magento, and we've installed a theme that we bought from a theme warehouse for $50. So everything you see is out of the box, our eLink functionality. I'm not going to show you all of the features today, but I'm going to show you some of the ones that Simon touched on. For more features, you can contact Simon later. On the homepage, you can see we have some items. All of this information is coming from Sage. So we're bringing over the items, the item descriptions. You can see out of stock on this top item. We're bringing over the inventory levels so you can control in stock and out of stock on the web based on your actual Sage inventory. We're bringing over custom customer pricing too. So if you have set up pricing levels in Sage or quantity pricing or even contract pricing for an individual item, all of that's brought over into the web. So when your customer logs on, they get the exact same price that you have set up in Sage. So you don't have any double entry of item pricing for customers in the website. Whatever you set up in Sage is what the customer automatically gets on the web. For this, I'm going to take a couple of the items that are on this homepage. I'm just going to add them to a cart so we can check out and show you how the information flows back and forth between Sage and the customer on the website. So we added these two items. We'll go ahead and proceed to the checkout. We are not currently logged in, so I'm going to go ahead and sign in so it pulls all of my information. You can see once I sign in, I have all of my addresses available to me. These are coming from Sage. So if you have multiple shipping addresses set up for the customer, when they log into their account on the web, they have all of those available to them to ship to during the checkout process. I'm going to go ahead and ship to the default address. I'm going to pick the flat rate shipping method. So I'm going to go ahead and go next. And then we get to our payments. We support all of the major Sage payment processors, including APS, who's with us today. When the customer goes to check out, they have the option to pick from their existing cards that they've already checked out with, or they can add a new card directly here on the checkout. We also support a bill me option. This is controlled by the payment terms on the customer in Sage. So if your customer set up with a terms account, then the bill me would show up. If a customer set up with a credit card only payment terms, then the bill me would disappear and they'd be forced to check out with a credit card. I'm going to use the credit card that I have saved and just go ahead and put in the verification number. And then we'll go ahead and place this order as it is. You can see that credit card and the whole transaction come over to Sage. You'll see when I place the order, I get a web order number. This is not an actual Sage order number. So if we go look at the portal, you can see in the portal, if I go to sales orders, this order is up here in pending sales orders. We are using a syncing system. So this allows, if your internet connection to your Sage server goes down or your Sage server is under maintenance, you're doing backups or whatever you might be doing, your website stays up, your customers can go online and they can place orders and they can make payments on their accounts and they can do everything that they would normally be able to do. This is what Simon touched on about when you have the online presence, you're open 24 hours a day. While that syncs, I'm going to go ahead and show you our payments module. We do have a few other modules and integration points that we have with Sage, like we have full integration with the returns authorization module. We have a quick order entry form, which allows your customers to place orders like a PO kind of, so it's good for a B2B business. But we'll skip down to the payments where we can see payment history for the account. It doesn't matter where the payment originates. So you can see here, some of these have a confirmation number, some of them do not. These credit card payments were made online, but these checks were sent into the account. We show all of the customer history regardless of where it originates. And that's true for sales orders and invoices as well. So if we go back to the sales order screen, you can see this top sales order has no web order number. We're showing all of the history. We brought the entire sales order history from the account over. In the payments tab, we can go make payment. And when we choose to make a payment, again, we have all the credit cards available to us that are available during the checkout. We'll go ahead and use that existing credit card. If we needed to, we could add a new payment method right here. We can select from our open invoices to make a payment. So we'll go ahead and select both of these invoices, and we'll make a short payment on the second one. We only want to pay half of it right now. So we can click add, and you'll see the payment information is filled in on the grid down below, and we can go ahead and place that payment. This is going to go to pending payments just like the sales orders. The difference here is this is not going to move to payment history until we actually go and post that payment to the accounts in Sage. So this will stay here, but it will get a deposit number as soon as it's imported into Sage. So if we go into Sage, we can show you that sales order. And the first thing you'll notice is in our lookups in Sage, we've added that web order number here too. So when the customer places the order online, they're going to get a confirmation email. The order is not yet imported into Sage, so we have only that web order number on the confirmation email. So if they call in and all they have is that confirmation, you can still look the order up in Sage by that confirmation number as well. You can see this did a credit card pre-authorization. So we did the pre-auth on the web. That's going to flow through to the order, and then when you do your invoicing, you'll do your post-authorization at that time. So if you have to make changes because the shipping amount changes or you change items on the order, we will handle that just fine. So we load the customer and all of the customer defaults when we place the order. You can see the addresses that I had selected during checkout. Those are the two items that I had in the cart there. And if we look at the totals tab, you can see that we have a commission right here. So Simon touched on we're using the business objects and not just filling out the order information in the database. When we loaded this customer and it loaded its defaults, the customer has a commission rate set up for this, so it automatically applied that commission rate. And if you look under the payment tabs, we have the actual transaction information for the payment. We are only transferring payment tokens back and forth, so this is all PCI compliant. No actual credit card information is passing over the wire in this case. So for this order, I'm going to go ahead and manually invoice this. So we'll go to invoice data entry. If you're using a shipping solution such as StarShip, which Matt will show you in a little bit, this process will be done during the shipping data entry there, but we'll go ahead and manually do it and enter some manual tracking numbers. We do work fully with StarShip and other shipping solutions because they'll put the tracking information in the same place at the end of the order. So we're just pulling it from the same place that they're going to store it. So I'll put in a couple of fake tracking numbers so you can see how those go back to the customer on the web. And we will go ahead and ship this order complete. And just tab through all the fields. And then while that syncs back to the web, I'll show you that cash receipt that we entered just a minute ago as well. So under cash receipts, if we open cash receipts, you can see we have the batch from today. The batch comment also shows that it came from the web. And when we load that batch, we can look at the deposits. And in this deposit, you can see we made that $2,033 payment. And when we go to the applications, we can see it applied to 2 invoices. And it applied that short amount to this invoice. So it would leave a balance open on this invoice. So all of the manual entry of doing the cash receipt for the customer is completely done. However, the customer wants to pay their invoices online, that's exactly what shows up in the system. So you don't have to worry about any manual entry errors in this case. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the web so we can show you how this information came back to the web after we invoiced it. If we look at the sales orders list, you can see that sales order that we had placed now has the invoice number associated with it. We also have an invoice list. And you can see by invoice number, and we also have a link to the sales order directly from there. You see the tracking number shows right up on the invoice list. And if we go to view the details, we have the actual invoice details of what was shipped from Sage. If we had put comments on those tracking numbers, those would show up here. And then we also have links back and forth between all the screens. So we can click on the sales order here and go straight to the sales order. And at the bottom of the sales order, you have all the invoice and tracking information as well. So no matter how the customer is looking at their account, they're going to see the full view of that transaction and what happened with it. So this is a brief overview of some of the features of eLink. At this time, I'm going to pass it back to Simon to continue. But I appreciate everybody who joined us today.
We know that from our experience that no 2 websites or web portals are the same. Every site has a unique look and feel. So whatever the case may be, CertiPro can build it. CertiPro is not only a Gold Sage development partner, but we are also a Magento technology partner, and we have Magento developers in-house. So if you need an end-to-end e-commerce solution or a business partner portal, we can manage the entire process for you. If you just need the eLink software piece to connect Sage to your existing website, we can work with your Sage business partner or web development team to provide recommendations and solutions to get that accomplished. So we work with many Sage business partners and their customers to meet all their individual e-commerce needs. I'm sure there are many questions, and we will attempt to get to all of them at the end of this call. But if you'd like to see a dedicated real-time demo of the transactional flow back and forth to Sage in more detail, we can schedule a personal demo and show you what we've done for other companies. And this way you can judge for yourself. So thank you, everybody. And Kristen from Scanco is up next. Over to you.
Thank you guys so much. I am stepping in for Andrew Neal today, so I'm hoping to fill in some very big shoes today. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Scanco does have dedicated barcode solutions for data capture to Sage 100 for both your distribution and your manufacturing applications as they relate to Sage 100. So we're going to show you a real brief taste of what we have to offer today, but please know if there's additional questions afterwards, you can reach out to myself, you can reach out to Andrew. We'd be more than happy to help with any specific needs that we don't necessarily address. Thank you so much, Nick and Simon, for showing us the CertiPro solution, showing us how we can get those orders in. From here, I'm going to jump back into the process just a little bit more and talk about how are we making sure internally within our organization that the right orders are going out the door to our customers. If you're seeing my screen okay, you can see a giant Scanco logo along with the Sage demo environment. This is an AirPlay of my actual device, which is an iPad mini. I'm going to back out of my home screen for just a second, and you can see Scanco loads natively onto iOS or Android devices. These are just native applications. I'm going to be showing features of our Warehouse 100 application today. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to log in. Now, because I'm touching my screen on my device, you're probably not going to be able to see my finger moving. So I'm going to do some pointing with my mouse as well. I'm going to use this little button at the bottom, the fingerprint, which is my login button. This is my individual user information. Because we're the barcode people, of course, I have it barcoded. So I'm just scanning along with that. I'm choosing who I am for this device and which company I want to work in. I'm going to stay in ABC today, but again, for each employee, they have their own credentials, they have their own user permissions, along with which transactions they're able to do and not do. So you have complete control. I'm going to be taking that order that CertiPro just took off the web and passed into Sage, and I'm going to be fulfilling that order for our customer. First thing I'm going to do, again, you can see from our home screen, we don't necessarily want to scare employees with looking at Sage screens. We try to make this very fat finger friendly, so the employees on the floor know exactly what they're supposed to do and not necessarily worry about negotiating Sage. I'm going to go into my picking icon. This is where I'm going to start the process. So now that sales order has been created, we know that it's ready to be released. I am the warehouse worker that now needs to satisfy that order. For our purposes today, I'm going to go into our order picking in that center tile. Once I choose that, I'm going to get prompted for very basic information. Number one, which warehouse am I working in? I'm going to stay in my primary warehouse for today's pick. Because I'm in a multi-bin system, you can see that I'm already defaulted to my staging bin. My staging location is going to be after I've picked up my items, where I'm dropping them off to my shipping department. The next prompt I'm going to get is for my sales order number. Now, in any of the Scanco software, whenever you see a red box, it's prompting for information. It's saying, scan information for me, type in information, or do a lookup for that information. I'm going to be working on my sales order 225 today. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in, and it's going to pull up all of the information necessary for me to start my pick. It's going to tell me the lines that I have on this order, lines I have in my current warehouse I'm working on, what's available to pick if I've already picked anything, and if I'm going to run into any problems because I have instant hands. I'm going to say okay to that message. That's some preliminary, and I'm going to go ahead and start my pick. We do have information that you can see here, again, confirming I'm going to be dropping this all off in my staging location, my sales order number, which warehouse I'm working in, and which of my bins is my primary location for the first item I'm grabbing. Here is my Sage item code along with the description. Any additional information like unit of measurement, we can see how many have been ordered and how many have been picked versus how many that are still remaining to be picked. For this particular item, 6655, we can see that I have picked 0 of the 20 for this particular order. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to walk over to where my item is, I'm going to scan my item, and it's going to say, okay, Kristen, how many are you putting in here? Well, I'm going to pick up all 20, and I'm going to move along to my next item. Now, if my items are not barcoded, I can always do a lookup, but barcoding is the best way, the most accurate way to make sure that we're getting the right information. For a great example, my next item, 8971, if let's say I walk over to where I think that item is and scan an item that is not on my sales order, I'm going to get validation in the system. Immediately, it's going to stop me and say, that's not what you're supposed to be doing for this order. It's going to stop employees from making mistakes at the most fundamental level, ensuring that those right items are getting picked. So I'm going to go and I'm going to say, oops, I made a mistake. Let me grab my correct item. This particular one is lotted, so it's going to ask me to verify my lot number that I'm choosing as well. This time, instead of just scanning my lot number, I'm going to do the lookup. And the lookup is just this little magnifying glass at the top of the screen. When I grab that magnifying glass, we're going to be able to see which lots I have available to me, along with the quantities available that I can pick. For this particular order, I'm going to go ahead and grab my lot 101. I'm picking up that specific lot for this order. We can see, just as the previous screens, we've ordered 5. I have 5 that are remaining to be picked, and I have picked 0 so far. I'm going to go ahead and say I only have 4 of them for this particular lot. And now it's again going to prompt me to stay on this item. Well, why is that? We can see our numbers have adjusted. I picked short for this one. So if there is an issue, again, very easily on the handheld device, we're going to be directing the employees, hey, this is what you should be doing. So let's go ahead and finish this one up. I'm going to grab that lotted item again. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, it was my mistake. I didn't have 4. I really need 5. I'm going to grab another lot. I'm going to go ahead and say that there is my remaining 1. And as soon as I have satisfied the pick, I will get a message saying, are you ready to submit this data? I'm going to say yes. And this is what is giving us that great feel in Sage that's allowing us in the Scanco software to move on to the next phase and make sure that we have the right items picked and allocated for these orders. Now, I've been the picker. I've been selecting the items for our particular sales order. I've dropped them off into my staging location. I'm going to change hats here, and now I'm going to be the shipper. For this particular process, I'm going to be going into the shipping icon. Once I touch on that, I have a couple different options. I'm going to be using this additional shipping icon here. This represents shipping data entry in Sage, and this is what's going to feed everything for StarShip as well. So that's why I'm choosing to utilize the shipping data entry function today. Because Sage is a batch-driven system, it's asking for a batch. I've just hit the hashtag at the top that's generated my next batch number per Sage. It's going to prompt me next for my shipper ID. I'm going to use my shipper ID primary numero 1 here. And now it's going to ask me for that sales order number again. As this time, the shipper who's packing up the boxes, I'm going to use the same sales order that we just picked those items for. Just like in Sage shipping data entry, I have my box level here. I'm going to go ahead and say, yep, I always am going to start in box number 1. What is that first item? Now, instead of scanning, I'm going to do some lookups to show you what the system looks like for the lookup features. Again, using this magnifying glass at the top, it's going to show me the items that are associated with the sales order. I'm going to choose my first one, which were the 20 of those printer stands that I had picked. I'm going to get a confirmation message. Yes, I'm going to put all 20 in that first box. And now it's going to ask me, because this is a multi-bin enabled environment, where am I picking it from? Now, the beauty of being able to do that pick versus a ship is that now we can see these are all my available locations within my warehouse that item might reside. But here, this green one, the staging area, we can see that I have quantities allocated for this order. We know that these items are now dedicated, and that's what's supposed to be going out the door for that particular order. I can verify I have all 20. It'll move me to my next item. I'm going to hit that little lookup icon again. Once I use that icon, we can see here are my remaining items. The first 20 have fallen away because they've already been satisfied. Here, do I want to put it in box number 1? Well, if I need to change boxes at this point in time, I can say, you know what? No, this one is actually going to go in box number 2. And you can see here that I'm automatically going to change my box levels. We can also change boxes by using the icon at the top of the screen. So this is just a great way to make sure that employees are actually recording what they're actually doing. Again, I'm going to do a lookup on my bin. I'm going to look for those allocated quantities. We can see staging is still green. I'm going to grab my first bin. It's going to ask for my lot. Now remember, I chose 2 separate lots here, so we can see 2 green fields. These are the ones that are allocated. I'm going to grab 101 for my first. I'm going to say, here's the 4 on my initial lot. I'm going to go back. We can see we have an update now where we have 5 ordered, 4 shipped. 1 is still remaining for us. I'm going to grab that last item. I'm still going to keep it in box number 2. So this time I hit yes. Again, look for where did I allocate it from in my staging area. I'm going to grab the lot associated that is still open, remaining, and allocating. And as soon as I've entered that very last remaining item, I'm going to hit the icon at the top. All of the information I've been collecting is currently in the Sage barcode module, but when I hit go ahead and send, on the Sage side, what I've effectively done is with no manual entry, I've been able to go into my sales order. I've been able to go into shipping data entry, and the Scanco software has created all of that for us. I'm going to pull up my very last batch that was just generated. I'm going to go ahead and look through my shipping information. I'm going to pull up that very last order I was working on. And here, along with that box level detail, here's my package level 1. Here are the 20 items that I just picked successfully and shipped successfully. And on my package level 2, here are my additional items. Again, all of the information for the lots that we were pulling over are brought over in your distribution tables, and we have accurate, solid information that is making sure that the right items are going out to your customers every single time. With this successfully completed in the shipping data entry, now I would like to hand it over to Matt so he can talk to us on the StarShip side.
All right, thanks so much, Kristen. Get my screen shared here. Okay, so as Kristen just showed you how you can actually do the pick and packing right from a handheld device using Scanco. So once we do that, as she showed, they automatically make the entry inside shipping data entry. So with StarShip here, I'm going to show you our direct interface where your shippers can just ship directly from StarShip. So there's no need to have them to go into shipping data entry. Center of my screen is the StarShip program. So on the upper left-hand side, I do have my source document. Now this is where I can manually enter. I can use our magnifying glass lookup to actually look up an order or invoice number. But if you're using Scanco, probably that sales order number is going to be barcoded. So you can use a regular wedge type scanner, have that hooked up to your shipping machine, and actually just scan in a barcode. Okay, once we scan that in, StarShip is going to retrieve all the order header and line item detail information from the order. Really, we're looking at Sage fields. We map these fields to these fields, and these field mappings can have a one-to-many relationship. So based off of ship via, StarShip's automatically going to know the carrier, the service, the billing type, account information, and automatically can select that for my shipper. So as a shipper, one less thing I have to worry about manually doing, really just streamlining that whole process. We can get into automating third-party shipments for you, automatically selecting the billing type to collect or third-party and grabbing the customer's account information. Okay. Sender is the company, of course, that we're pulling the information from inside of Sage. We do support multiple companies as well as warehouses and or locations. And the recipient address down here, of course, that is the ship to from the order. StarShip will do address validation. We do validate ZIP+4. So we're going to help save on those address correction fees. And we also validate the commercial residential flag. Okay, so this will automatically change. It's based on what the carrier, so if this was UPS, FedEx, they return if it's a commercial or residential. So going to help save on those correction fees. Okay. Down in the packaging view, this is where I can see my item to box detail. So nice thing with that integration with StarShip and Scanco, however you define that shipment on your handheld device, that's how StarShip pulls it in. Okay, so we have the two separate packages here. With StarShip, we can get into setting up custom boxes. So if you guys always use standard boxes, you can actually have your shipper put this in a custom box or a box that you define. Nice thing with using custom packaging, and that could be bags, bales, boxes, pallets, so on and so forth, is StarShip will automatically populate the dimensions for your shipper. Okay, we do also return dimensional weight. So as you can see here, this is telling me, hey, my actual weight, 17 pounds. If I had a scale hooked up, we integrate with most scales. My demo system, I'm just grabbing weights from Sage. But this 21 pound, that is actually the dim weight. So going to help save on those dimensional correction fees. Okay. Now at time of shipment, I can actually have my shipper's rate shop. So I can click this green dollar icon or go to the rate shop tab. Now standard feature included with StarShip is the ability to do this rate shopping right from sales order entry. So as you can see here, we add this rate quote button inside a sales order entry. So at time of order, customer service reps can actually rate shop. The way StarShip works, when we rate, we're actually making the call directly to the carrier's API or web services and returning your live negotiated or contract rates that you have with the carriers. Okay, we have connections with about 26 different carriers, and that's parcel as well as LTL carriers. So StarShip is multi-carrier, multi-mode. So it can do parcel, we can do LTL shipments. All right. So here, again, all the different carriers that have modules for, I'm going to be able to see estimated delivery. I'm going to be able to see contract or list pricing. With StarShip, we can get into setting up ship via rules. So we can have StarShip automatically rate for my shipper and select the carrier service based off of your own criteria. So, hey, maybe select the least expensive carrier. Okay. With the line item detail, this actually happens to be an international shipment. So again, StarShip is just pulling the information from Sage, but we also have a database where you can store, or we will automatically automatically store your inventory items. Now we do this because normally inside of Sage, they don't have a spot for, like, say, the NMFC codes, freight class. I know starting in version 2017, they did do a commodity code field, but as you can see, StarShip will store all that information for your shipper. You know, if we happen to miss, say, a Schedule B code or harmonized code, we have our own lookup, so your shipper can just look that code up very quickly. And once any of this information is entered and I ship this order, it will save it automatically for next time. Okay, so again, just streamlining that process for my shipper. One less thing they have to worry about stopping and manually filling out. Okay, so after we rate shop and select our charge that we want to use, I'm just going to click on the Charges tab here. Now, to ship a shipment, I don't have to click this tab, but I like to show it because with StarShip, we can also get into what we call freight rules. So if you guys want to give certain customers discounts on freights, maybe you do free shipping over X amount of dollars, you can set up freight rules inside StarShip. And they can be percentages, min-maxes, flat rates. It could be based off the list price or your actually contract price with the carrier. These triggers, you know, they can go all the way down to line item detail. So I have clients that ship oversized items. So they have rules set up, hey, anytime item 1, 2, 3, 4 is on an order, automatically add $10 or $20. You know, here I'm actually just doing a percent using a user-defined field set up in customer maintenance. It's called freight discount. It's just a checkbox. So as you can see, because it's selected, this customer gets a 10% discount on freight. When I am ready to actually ship and process a button, I can click the Ship and Process button, or the F5 key is a shortcut key. We can also save a shipment without fully processing it. So if you're staging a shipment, maybe you have an item that's not quite ready yet, you can start the shipment and then actually just save it, come back and process it later. But as soon as I do click the Ship and Process button, I will receive all my shipping documents. Normally these would of course go right to a printer, but for the sake of the demo, I preview them. I'm also using our shipping, what we call our smart label. And as you can see, the smart label prints a shipping label and packaging list together. So this label actually would need to go to an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So it would need to go to a laser printer. But with StarShip, you have the option. You can send the shipping label to a thermal printer or laser printer. If you want to use our packing list, that can also go to a thermal printer, or if you need a laser printer. Okay. So box 1. Get our label for box 2 next here. And then because this is international, a nice thing what StarShip can do is generate all your international documents. If this was an LTL shipment, I could generate bill of lading forms, you know, so on and so forth. Because we're storing all that order header, line item detail, all the information is automatically going to generate. Documents can be customized. So as you can see here, I have it pre-signed and dated. So really these print out. They're ready to go. You know, again, one less thing my shipper has to worry about stopping and filling out. With documents, you can get into assigning printing rules for each, because you can create your unlimited templates. So maybe, you know, you have a certain customer, say customer ABC needs a document to look a certain way. You can create a template for that customer and then have it print only when the order is for that customer. Okay. So as a shipper, I click Ship and Process, get my shipping documents. Now I'm in rinse repeat cycle. I'm ready just to move on to my next shipment, my next order, get that out the door. I'll just switch gears and jump back into Sage, kind of put my front office hat on here, and I will go into invoice data entry. And I'll go to my last invoice here. So as you can see, that sales order we just shipped, number 225. Here's the invoice for it. On the header tab, I'm going to click on the tracking button. And here it is. StarShip automatically writes back that tracking information, carrier, weight, freight amounts. Okay. Again, this goes inside of Sage's tracking table. So this is available through history. You know, after I update this invoice, I do have access to this information. And as Nick mentioned earlier on in the demo or in the webinar, you know, because this information is now inside Sage's tables, they can grab that and, you know, pass it up to your website. I can also use Sage's tracking buttons here. I can also use their item to box detail. Okay, so it's a full integration. And then I'll just quickly jump to the totals tab. So we are going to write back the freight amount if you'd like. With StarShip, freight amount, that's plus or minus any of those freight rules. Or we can do write back rules. You know, maybe we already charged the customer freight, so we can simply tell StarShip when and when not to write back freight. Little advanced features of StarShip. Actually, I created a user-defined field here. It's called Freight Cost from StarShip. Nice thing with StarShip, I can take additional information and pass it into user-defined fields. So this actually is what I am going to be charged for the shipment from the carrier, in this case being UPS. So this is one way, nice way, before I update this, I can do a kind of final check and see, make sure I'm not shorting myself. You know, here in this case I am. Oh, what happened? This customer received a discount they shouldn't have. So as a front office person, I can simply look at this before I update that and say, nope, we should have charged them $65. Okay. So we can override that freight amount field. All right. Real quick, I'll show you two additional programs that are included with StarShip. First being our eNotify, or our email program. So with eNotify, you can actually design your own templates that you can send to your customers for each of your shipments. Quickly here, I'll bring this one up for that shipment we just sent. So nice thing with these, you know, if you're currently using UPS Quantum Notify, you know, it's usually labeled with UPS. So with our template, you know, you could put your company logo, build your brand awareness, easily link in Sage fields like PO number, sales order number, also give them that nice breakdown of item to box detail and the hyperlink tracking numbers. Okay, so these will help reduce those inbound calls of customers, you know, just giving you a call, hey, where's my shipment? You know, send them this email, let them track it. In this case, let them go to UPS website to track the package. And then also included is our dashboard program. Dashboard is a nice reporting tool. So nice thing with eNotify, dashboard, and even that rate shopping from sales order entry inside of Sage, they do not require any additional licenses. It can be installed on as many workstations as you'd like. And from our reporting tool here, you know, have some performance indicators, as you can see, but we also have a bunch of different canned reports that you can run. One being late delivery report, that simply is going to show you any package that was not delivered on time, so you can go out and contact the carrier and try to get a refund. And the other one is a charge comparison report. This report's going to show you all your shipments. It's going to have a column show you what you charge the customer. It's then going to compare it to what you're going to be charged by the carrier. And the third column, of course, would be the plus or minus. So quick report you can run. Make sure you're not losing money on your shipments. And with that, I am going to pass this over to Patty so she can show you how easily it is to collect those funds for your order. Thank you, everyone, for taking time of your day for our webinar.
Thank you, Matt. Great presentation so far from everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, from receiving the order, you basically take advantage of full automation, security, compliance, and a speedy delivery with StarShip. Thank you for passing this along to me. Now let's figure out a way to get you paid. And not only that, getting you paid for the highest level of service that you're able to provide using the different solutions that have been presented today from CertiPro, Scanco, D-Technology, StarShip, and with American Payment Solutions. I would like to show you exactly where in your current processing statements there is room for savings. Why not become curious about how much money you could potentially be leaving on the table? Ask your, and I know this is going to sound cheesy, I've been using this phrase quite often, your merchant mentors, no strings attached. Allow us to analyze your current merchant statement, find out exactly where there's room for savings, and provide you with a savings that may help you offset the cost of the solutions that were presented today. So if you're interested, please let me know. Now let me just begin by telling you that we've been in this business for over 25 years. We do service over 4,000 companies nationwide in the United States and Canada as well. 22 countries served. Customers' monthly processing volume is not too small or too large. Ranges from $2,000 to $20 million per month. Now here's where analyzing your statements and deciphering them comes into play and will help you literally save money so that you don't have to let the processor take advantage and keep the savings instead. Many of our merchants come to us with flat rates, and they love the fact that they're very straightforward, easy to reconcile. They really don't want to make a switch, and we're perfectly fine delivering the flat rate structure. Here is the setback. The card brands offer specific programs that allow you to cut the rates in half and sometimes even more than half. If you have a flat rate contract, you will not be able to take advantage of the programs that the card brands are offering you because your processor will be able to take advantage of it instead. So they will be keeping the savings. Now, we have merchants that come to us with tiered pricing. So there's 3 different buckets. You'll have a fully qualified, mid-qualified, and non-qualified bucket. The setback here is the processor decides the criteria behind where exactly each transaction qualifies. So needless to say, 90% of the time when we analyze a statement that reflects tiered pricing, we see that the majority of the transactions are not qualified, therefore receiving the highest rate possible. Now, there's a third type of fee structure that is important for you to understand. It's called Interchange Plus. Interchange Plus basically allows the processor to pass the hard costs from the card brands directly to the merchant and then negotiate a transaction fee or a markup fee. That fee will then remain the same for the life of the account with the processor, depending, of course, on which processor you go with. With American Payment Solutions, we will guarantee our rates in writing, so you don't have to worry about the rates creeping up on you, and you will be able to take advantage of the programs put in place by the card brands. The number 1 program, and the one that will bring you the most savings, is called Level 3, as I mentioned before. An average of 43% can be saved instantly by processing through Level 3. Level 3 is meant for any transaction that is a Visa, MasterCard, business-to-business, business-to-government transaction that was processed with a company within the continental U.S. Visa and MasterCard require about 16 data fields to be delivered each time you process a transaction. Now, needless to say, nobody has time to key in all of that information. So what we've done is we've automated the process by taking those fields out of Sage, delivering them to Visa, MasterCard, and getting the savings to our merchants directly. An average merchant will save about $18,000 a year simply by processing through American Payment Solutions and taking advantage of Level 3 processing. These are the fields I was talking about, and as you can see, many of the fields were brought into the system by the programs that were presented to you today. CertiPro, through their e-commerce and Magento integration, will bring you the transaction into Sage. They will be able to pre-authorize the transaction, and with their Magento integration, which we also integrate with, we will pre-authorize the transaction. The transaction can later be captured right within Sage through our gateway, delivering the Level 3 data that is required in order to get you the lower rates. Now, this is what you would be able to see if we analyze one of your statements. Notice how at the very top it'll say it was a tiered structure type of scenario with a monthly volume of about $128,000. The savings we were able to provide simply by processing through Level 3 was an average of $1,400 a month, close to $17,000 a year. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, you are at risk of having all of this money sitting on the table and leaving it to your processor without you knowing about exactly how much it would be. Now, before I jump into the challenges and solutions, I'd like to also mention the fact that we offer not only Level 3 functionality, but also a click-to-pay functionality. So if you are not using an e-commerce solution at the moment, and you would like to simply send out your invoices directly from Sage through paperless office, what we have done is we've added to that paperless office invoice, as you can see on the screen, we've added a Pay Here button. Your customer will receive the invoice and will be able to click on the Pay Here button. Once they click on that button, they can review the invoice and decide if they'd like to make the payment. If they decide to make the payment, notice how we will also provide a list of open invoices. And you can see this customer in particular has many invoices. And I'm going to see if I can get them to pay this one for today. And I apologize, I'm trying to move my GoToMeeting from here. Okay, so now they have the option to either pay the full balance or pay a custom amount. They can choose from the different invoices that they'd like to pay for as well. They could enter a brand new credit card number, choose to allow the customer, the end user can choose to allow the customer to process through ACH as well. Now the customer will be able to save the payment method or use a previously saved method. Once they click on continue, they will be able to key in the card information. And you can see it's very straightforward, nothing too complex. And I'm going to go ahead and submit my payment. I won't save the card. Once the payment is submitted, the customer will receive a transaction ID, a confirmation that the invoice has been paid for. Now I'm going to show you what the invoice looks like within Sage, but before I go into the cash receipts, I just want to also show you briefly what click-to-pay setup is like, mainly because you do have options. So when we initially set up American Payment Solutions, in Library Master Company Maintenance, we give you options. As I mentioned before, ACH and credit cards, we turn on level 3 processing, so you don't have to worry about keying in all of the required fields in order to obtain the lower rates that Visa MasterCard offer. And then you can turn on Click to Pay. Now with Click to Pay, you have the option to opt out by customer or opt in by customer. Since I decided to opt out by customer, all of my customers right now are opted into Click to Pay. In customer maintenance, you also have the option to opt out by individual customer or opt in, depending on what you chose. And you can see it's very simple. It's a checkbox. As far as credit card processing, fully integrated, very seamless. I would say completely seamless almost. You wouldn't ever feel like you're outside of Sage. As you can see, you have the option to choose ACH and credit card processing. We follow Sage's security settings, allowing you to enter as many cards under a customer as you need. We tokenize the card information and allow you to see the last 4 digits with the billing address. We also allow you to add an email address, which will receive a receipt the minute you complete a transaction without you having to click any additional buttons. You can process pre-authorizations on the sales order level or direct captures. Everything remains very seamless within Sage. You really do not have to do anything outside of the ordinary. And I'll just show you quickly what a sales order would look like before I jump into cash receipts. You can also apply payments directly to invoices, process individually or in batches. It's entirely up to you. So here's my sales order. As you can see, if I decide to capture, I can pay the full balance. If I decide that I'd like to pre-authorize, once I click on Submit Card, my default credit card will appear. I do have the option to look at a list of existing cards or even add a card on the fly. I can submit my payment, and bam, the payment is processed. I get a transaction ID. At this point, I can invoice. And yes, I can always add a shipping fee after the fact. So let's just jump into cash receipts now and see what's going on with our invoices. Now, what we have added as far as Click to Pay is this button right within your cash receipts deposit. If you click on this button, the Click to Pay payments will automatically show up in cash receipts, and now all you have to do is complete your cash receipts update. Now you will be able to see each invoice that has been paid by each of your customers. You'll see a list of it, so you really don't have to enter any more information. We take care of it all in the background. So again, I want to reiterate: automation, security, compliance, and you get paid faster. Now, if anybody is interested in a free audit of your current rates and fees, please do not hesitate to contact anybody at American Payment Solutions. We will be able to provide you with that free audit. Now, with the free audit, we can also provide you, we guarantee to beat or match, actually, any competitor, or we provide you $500, no questions asked. We simply ask to see the competitive statement or analysis. And last but not least, I'd like to just invite everybody to see us at Sage Sessions. We will be hanging out with the folks at Scanco and CertiPro and StarShip. We'll all be there, and we're looking forward to seeing you there.